Number 12, we have a public hearing on the installation of another windmill at Parties, Picnics, and Promotions, LLC. I have proof of publication from Richard Keene of the Eagle newspapers that notification was indeed published, and proof of posting from Town Clerk Tracy M. Cosselin that the notice was posted on the bulletin board at the proper time. Do we have a representative? Give your name and who you represent, please.
My name is Gary Thompson. I'm the president and owner of Parties, Picnics, and Promotions. I own a parcel 2.6 miles north of Route 31 on Route 11. I approached Jay Sykes back in 2005 for a windmill, and Jay was more than accommodating, but he said there's no ordinance for it or against it. So he kind of basically said, well, hang in there, we'll talk about it, in the future when you're really ready to go. So I went to another windmill convention in Chicago, Vegas, another one out in California, visited a couple of facilities out there, brought it back to Jay and talked to him some more about it. Last year I had an informal meeting with him, and also I think Brian and Gear, Mark was there, and the attorney representing Cicero was there, and gave him my feedback of why I wanted a windmill. I gave him statistics, and by the way, windmills kill one bird a year. Statistics were done in 2006, and buildings kill 5,500 birds a year. So we haven't stopped building buildings, but our wind turbines are kind of taking a back seat, I feel. The reason why I feel that I have a hardship is because when I was here last, I told everybody that National Grid, which is, everyone should know that is a British utility company which bought out Niagara Mohawk. So when we pay our bill to National Grid, 50% of your money is going back to Europe, to the Brits. And I have no offense to them, but I like to keep our money here, and I like to see National Grid cut me a check. There is, I said 3% of the benchmark is for when National Grid, once they reach that mark, they don't have to buy back the surplus. That statement was false. It's 1.5% of their customers. Once they reach that quota, they can say no to any of us that are producing solar, hydro, or windmill power. So as we, in our area, say we have this moratorium saying no to windmills right now, and we're finding all these other towns and villages are getting the green light to go ahead, more and more people are getting pushed back, which includes myself, and I'm wondering where I'm standing on the list with National Grid. Also, New York State's got a grant out for this type of project, in particular mine, that will give me $6,100. This grant money is available till December 31st of 2009, or when the money runs out. So I'm trying to get on the bandwagon and get a hold of that grant money to go ahead with my project, and hopefully that I'm not too late to receive that money.
Thank you. Open public hearing at this time. To solicit comments from those who are in favor of this windmill.
I'll be in favor of it. You know this?
Give your name and address, please.
Edward Hanson, Eileen Avenue, yeah, for all the reasons spoken for the Paul Lima site, I think he has as much right to do it if they do. I think he wants to go green, he should.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Give your name and address, please.
Anything anybody can do in this town to lower the utility bill, they should be allowed to do. Sounds like this man has been after this for at least 2.5 years, and he didn't use the word, and I don't know if this is correct, but he may have been, bounced around a little bit. Let him have his windmill, and let anybody that wants a windmill save the money if they can on the utility bill.
Does anyone else like to speak in favor?
Lusky Van Antwerp. After looking at that windmill on Morgan Road, I'd say go for it, because just to look at it is something, you know, that is in the future.
Thank you.
I like to look at it. I go to Fender once in a while, like Madison County.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
We need your name too.
Tim Murphy, Noel Road. Is the residence nearby, and how big is this one?
This property is zoned commercial, and the height of the tower is 45 feet. The rotor is 5 feet diameter, and it's a 1.8 kilowatt, much smaller. And it will produce about 400 kilowatts per month. Basically take care of my utility bill and hopefully a little surplus.
Give me your name again, please.
Yes, Gary Canino, 6387 Long Point Road. I'm not for or against windmills, but I would like to get any information on this moratorium that I've been hearing about tonight as far as residencies. And the reason I bring that up is because, as we know, gasoline prices are going through the roof. Niagara Mohawk, or whatever they call themselves right now, if they're increasing their prices forever and ever and ever, there will be coming a point in time where if we might have to do some kind of windmill as a residential area. Now, I also heard somebody say around here that they've designed a different type of a windmill that doesn't look like big blades like we're familiar with on the hill over there, but overlooking the lake. If that type of technology is available, what would that compact with the moratorium as far as residential people? For example, if I could put a windmill on my roof that didn't look any worse than the cable dishes, would that be allowed?
That's the moratorium is not to discourage people from using residential windmills. It's just so we can have something in place. And it's probably, if you want to give us a status report, Heather, as to where we are on the finality of it.
Okay. Couple things. First of all, any information on the moratorium itself, the local law that established it is available through Tracy's office.
Okay.
The second thing is that it does cover small residential type windmills, so it does cover that. The third thing is Wayne and I have a draft of residential type restrictions, or I shouldn't say restrictions, I should say guidelines that the planning board will follow, or that the property owner will need to follow. We're working on the regulations for commercial industrial type facilities, and so once we have them both together, we plan on getting it to you folks for review, and also to your engineers for their review as well.
And
Does that help? Oh, I'm sorry, does that help you? Does that answer your questions?
And one of the biggest concerns in a residential area, you need your drop zone.
Exactly, but if people are able to use these smaller ones that aren't necessarily on a pole, then hopefully we'll be able to encourage that.
Quick question, I know in Paul DeLima's case, they were using a subsidiary, their product, to put theirs up. Who are you contracting through? Who's putting yours up?
I'm going to use a company called SkyStream.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Close the public hearing at this time, solicit town board comments.
Do we also need to have this project be looked at by the planning board?
I've suggested, yeah.
Okay. It doesn't seem as though his height needs a variance, but just,
I think if you kind of set a precedent
Just to
that
be
you're something the
reviewed.
planning board should review, and I think it's a good idea.
Now, I think the board has to consider, that's going to be considered, because we haven't done this before, it's going to be considered a regular site plan with the normal fees incurred and such.
I think so at this point. It's something we're gonna have to look at when it comes in, but I think so. And there are different size classifications of site plans that it may fall into. It may be considered smaller, medium, larger, et cetera, with the associated fees that go with it. So there is a varying degree of what it might fall into.
And that's going to be Wayne's discretion as to which state
Generally,
or...
generally, yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I would just suggest that you enter the letter and then also that you provided Gary into the record, so we have it for the minutes. And I would just make the same motion then that we approve and grant the waiver of the moratorium and set the matter for the planning board for final approval.
Second.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Tarwacki?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Corral?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.